Hey everybody, it's day 21 of our Little by Little May Art Challenge, and it is the final day of said challenge. But don't fret if you've been enjoying it because I'm going to do a challenge in June as well. Not my idea. In a group that I'm in, somebody asked about it, and a few other people chimed in and would like it, so I thought, okay, maybe. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I will tell you all about it next week. I've got a couple ideas and I will sort those out this weekend. Okay, in yesterday's video, someone left a comment asking if it would be possible to see my palette. And I'm going to show it to you, honestly. This is what it looks like after this challenge. And I'm not the only one that's been using it. So yeah, that's the reality of it now. I'm going to just clean it out real quick and kind of start over. And I'm going to show you a really quick practice that I just did about 10 minutes ago. And it's this. This is what we're painting today. Something like this. Geraniums. I was just trying a certain technique that was in my head and I wanted to see if it would work. I did it on the back of this gal that I showed you that I was scrapping yesterday. So that's what I like to do with these. I just use them for scrap paper, and I don't know, part of me thinks just keep this because if I had anything like this, like from my grandma, I would cherish it. So I'm not trying to be a hoarder, but you know. Okay, let's get started. And I'm not going to draw anything first. I am going to start with, let me show you my color palette, my color swatches here. I'm going to start with Scarlet, okay? And that is this color of red right here. Okay, I'm going to start with Scarlet. Just going to put some water on my brush. I know some people spray them or whatever. I just drop water in there and then I just mix it around and then I'll put it over on my palette here. Since we're painting so small, I don't need a ton of paint. I usually get way too much anyway, but I just put it over here. And then what I'm going to do for the first part is there's just kind of some water with a little bit of color on there. And this is how you get like a lighter value of the red. And the more water you add, less pigment, the lighter it's going to get. And when I do my subsequent layers, I'll dip right into this because for this little practice, I did 3 different layers for the flower itself. Okay, so that's where we're starting. I've got a clean brush now. I'm going to dip into the darker and the water just to kind of make a medium, maybe a medium value. It's going to dry a lot lighter. And what I'm going to do is I am going to just dot in a circular-ish motion, okay? I'm not sure if I want, yeah, maybe I do. I've got 7 flowers here. I don't know, kind of feels like maybe a smaller amount. It's kind of more realistic, really. I wish all of my geraniums would look like that all summer. So full. I'll show you some footage that I took today. I was so excited because I literally woke up this morning thinking, I am going to paint geraniums in a terracotta pot, which I don't even have anything planted in terracotta pots this summer or spring, I guess still. And so anyway, I went to a new friend's house today and she had this whole bench of geraniums. We were looking at her garden, her backyard, this whole bench of geraniums in terracotta pots. Okay, I'm thinking maybe 5 here. But how cool was that? I mean, oh gosh, I was like, ooh, can I please video this for my video later? She doesn't know. Well, maybe she knows I have a channel. I have no idea. This is wet. And I'm just going to bring in my spray bottle here. And I'm going to get this out of the way. And I'm going to give it just a little spritz. I did a couple spritzes because I kind of pointed it that way. And you can do as many as you want. I'm going to leave it just like this. And I'm going to let it dry for a little bit. And then I'm also going to help it dry with my heat tool. Now this is completely dry. And you can see it dried lighter than what it was. Some of them more so than others. It all just depends on how much water and how much paint you have on your brush. So I think I might just need 2 layers for this one. And I'm going to go with red geraniums because I think they're so pretty. I don't have a solid red geranium in my own setup this year. Okay, I might in the backyard. I can't remember. But let me show you my front porch. I love geraniums, as you can see. They remind me of my grandma, although I don't remember her specifically having geraniums. But for some reason, the smell reminds me of her, and I just love it. She loved plants. And I've switched to a smaller brush. This is a 2, the other one was a 6. And I'm dipping into like the darker portion of the red. Not very much water on my brush. And I'm just going to dab in. And once this layer is dry, I'll decide if I do a third layer yet. It just depends. I like the varying colors, like on that one I showed you. I just like the light pink in the background and the red kind of in the center. And try not to worry if it feels a little messy right now. It'll all come together once we add our pen work at the end. And since we didn't use a pencil sketch to start off with, it gives a little more freedom to just play with these shapes. And for me, it helps me to stay loose and not overthink things. Although, like we did in yesterday's painting and other paintings in this challenge, sometimes it's very helpful to begin with a sketch, and just that helps guide me when I need guidance. And just dabbing the color in, as you can see, just keeping basic circular shapes. And then we'll add some greenery once this is dry. Well, let me dry it first and see if I like that or if I want to add one more layer. And now I'm going to paint in the greenery, and I'm starting with this, which is yellow-green. So I'm just painting some water in there. You know what I'm saying? Dropping some water in there. And then I can just put some of that over here. Sometimes I don't do this. I don't put it over here. I just dip right in here and do it, but I'm trying to be helpful. I don't know if that is or not. And then the next color I'm going to use is tree green. So I'm just going to wet that, and I will also put this right over in this spot too. I often just put like colors in the same thing. As you saw earlier, it gets very messy, but that's okay. And starting with just yellow-green on my brush, I'm just going to dab it in here and there. And you can see I'm being very, what do you call it? Haphazard, one might say, or whatever. I'm not being precise, and that's quite all right. Just getting some general shapes in here. Might kind of do some stems coming down too. I didn't do that in my other one. I'll make them darker as well. And I also want to add some of the little buds that haven't bloomed yet. Maybe just kind of put them throughout here. I kind of want some hanging over the pot, so even though they're not like a trailing leaf, so to speak, but that's okay. And there really wouldn't be a leaf up here, so you know what? I'm going to make that into one of the buds coming out. But while that is still wet, I am then going to, where is it? I can't see my screen. Okay, now I'm going to dip into the tree green and just kind of dab it right in to our yellow green, just to give some varying green colors. And I'm going to clean and dry my brush off. Okay, here's my other messy paper towel, because I don't like to use paper towels like over and over and over. I mean, I do like to use them over and over and over. I don't like to use one and throw it away and use a new one for each time. So you can see I've used this for several paintings. So I've washed my brush. I just dried it on my little paper towel, and I'm just going to, it might be a little late for this, but I'm going to try to soak up some of that color. And now I'm going to get my smaller brush, my size 2, and I'm going to go into my tree green. I'm just going to make some of those little buds coming down like this. I just went out and looked at my geraniums because I know I showed you the video, but I don't have it. I can't look at it because I'm filming with my phone, so that's okay. So there's one of those. maybe this will be a bud here as well. And if this is still wet, it's going to just kind of run, but that's okay. We're being loose here. Can't really tell those are buds, and I'm going to be okay with that. All right. More tree green on this brush, dabbing it in. Nice saturated green, just to give us some dark variations of our greens. You could, actually, this one has so much water in it, so it's not really receiving the color. So I'm going to do what I showed you I did before, which is clean my brush, dry it on the paper towel, and then my brush acts like a little sponge to kind of soak that up. And then I'll clean my brush off again and go right into the green. And then you can see it makes more of a difference. You can see the darker better. It doesn't just sit there in a pool of water. I'm gonna that. All right. Trying to make this look more like buds, but it's okay. I'm gonna just live with it. All right. I think I'm gonna splatter this one at the end. We will see. I'm not really sure. The pen lines help a ton for me. They do. I'm gonna add more greens in here though, because, and what I'm gonna do first is dry this because I don't want everything to just run together. Okay, I liked on my practice one how full and just filled in everything is. So we're going to do that here as well. Nothing against white space. Sometimes I love it, and sometimes I just want everything to be nice and filled in. And now going into our tree green. Okay, and then we have to think about where our pot is going to go. And yeah, obviously we're going to let this dry first. Okay, now the color I'm going to use for this pot to start off with is the fourth one. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because for me, I put in my swatch, let me show you my swatch card. I put in there that it is burnt sienna. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, that they called this umber and this was burnt sienna, and that did not make sense to me. So for my own brain, I switched them. I'm sorry if that's not helpful for you, which I'm sure it isn't, but I'm using the fourth one. Basically just an orangish brown. And so I'm just going to get some of that on here, move it over here, and then we can play with water, variations. And I'm going to start pretty light. So I added some water. So like this is what it looks like if I just put it in dark. Can you see that? Okay, good. And then that's with added water. So this will be maybe like the second layer or dabbing it in there. But for the first layer, I'm just going to use this watered down version. And my greens are all dry, making sure. Okay, now for the pot, I'm going to just make it come like, I think I have way too much water on my brush, but I'm going to play with it for now. And we're going to come down like this. And we're going to kind of do like a little rectangle. You can see it's very light, and I have quite a bit of water, like I said. Maybe not too much, but quite a bit. And we're going to just kind of do a straight edge there-ish. And leave it like that. Then we're going to come down, and it's okay. If you want your pot to be like shorter, I'm going to make mine just come off the page because otherwise I think it's just going to look too short. So we'll fill that in here. And you could just draw this whole shape and then add the edges at the end, whatever, you know how to draw a pot, right? Paint a pot, and they're all different shapes, so you can't get it wrong. Doesn't matter. Now, if you just want your pot to look like that, you can be done. But I am going to just bring in, like I said, I'm going to tap into this dark color. So this same burnt sienna in my world. I've just cleaned my brush and I wiped it on my paper towel, so I'm really going to have a lot of color on here. hoping that this is still wet. Yes, it is. Because I want to do a wet on wet so that it blends really nicely. And we're going to make it darker kind of under the leaves and under the rim here. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just, being intentional, but not like perfectionist about it. So, and then you can just kind of tap it in wherever you want it, wherever it makes sense to you. And for me, I'm just going to bring it over like that. I love the terracotta pots that look just worn and used and loved and all the things. Leaving some of the lighter spots just so that it has that worn and loved look in my mind. And I'm loving that. But let's dry it because, as we know, watercolors dry more lightly. So let's give that a dry. Now, that looks okay, but I also think it looks a little lopsided. So I'm actually going to come in with my size 2 brush, the little guy, and dipping into the dark again. And I'm going to just bring this line, just make it a little more wider at the base a little bit. And we'll try to blend that in a little bit as well. Not really blend, but just kind of, well, yeah, blending. I'm blending. And we're going to add more shadows and that sort of thing with pens here in a little bit. I mean, I am. You don't have to. No, I always say that's optional. Pretty much everything I do here. Well, okay, listen. Everything I do here is optional. You can make this your own. All right. I like the look of that. I also like the look of this one that was much darker. So you can just play with different colors. Ooh, I'm tempted to add a darker, but I'm going to stop here and then let it dry completely and then come in with our pen details. Now, I think this looks good just as is, but it just makes me so happy when I bring a pen in. So I'm using a Sharpie pen like I've been doing for much of this challenge. And I'm going to literally scribble. I'm going to, like, for the flowers, I'm just kind of doing like curly cues. You can leave some white space. And the thing about using the red that I think I'm going to love is I'm going to use some white pen as well. And it's really going to show up nicely on the red. And so, yep, scribbling. You can, oh my goodness, you can do whatever you want. If the scribbling bothers you, you can just be more precise and just outline as much as you would like. And you can study the shape of the leaves and the shape of the flowers to your heart's content. I like to just give the impression of whatever flower it might be. I'm going to try to make this look more like our buds and just give them a little outline as well. All right, some stems in here and our pot. Again, I think it looked pretty without the pen, but ooh, this makes it look so fun for me. And let's get the rim in there as well. Some shading under the leaves, especially under the rim. And maybe just on this side. Maybe the light's coming from this side. Just play with it. And there you have it. And I want to just put some lines in the leaves as well. Scribbling, scribbling, scribbling. All right, some more stems. Okay, love it. Now I'm going to bring my white gel pen in. I've got a Jelly Roll size 8. And you can see I've already left some white spaces in there, but oh good, it still kind of works. I realized I left the cap off all night. And I was a little worried about that. Okay, just adding some white, especially in the darker spots. And then let's put some white on this side of our... Sorry, I know my hands look so intense. Sometimes when I'm rewatching my videos, it's like, sorry. I just get into it, Okay. There she is. Isn't she kind of sweet? Now the question is splatter or no splatter? I think splatter. Just gonna tear a sticky note off and just go like that. And I'm gonna come into my scarlet again. I'm just gonna reactivate this, and I'm gonna have plenty of water in there. So it's gonna be more like pink splatters, but you can see how wet that is. Like, it's very wet. And you don't have to cover your plant. It could be pretty with splatters on the plant as well. I have a piece of hair on there. Probably my cat. All right. I might do some green splatters too. Let's see. I want some at the top, but they're just going right on the paper. There we go. All right, let's get some green on there for funsies. I'm going to go into my tree green for that. Add plenty of water. Uh-oh, is it going to give a Christmas vibe? I'm not really sure, but I do love Christmas, so there's that. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, clean this up. I really am tempted to take my sticky note off right now, but I've done that before, and it just smears all the splatters, so that's not what I'm going for. So I'm going to be patient. I don't know if it's just me, but my pot still feels very lopsided, and I think it's just because this needs to be a little bit more defined as the rim. Okay, I think that makes me feel better. Yeah? Yeah. All right, I'm just going to sign up on the side of it this time. And we are done with our Little by Little May Art Challenge. If you missed any of the videos, there is a playlist. I've put everything in one spot to make it easy for you to find. Feel free to go check it out and watch any of the videos that look interesting to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined in and who has painted my paintings. I'll do a wrap-up video and kind of show you all of the paintings that I did for this month. And I've got them all in a little container over here on my desk. And I'll show you what I did. I'll do that next week. And I also next week will tell you all about the June challenge that's coming up. All right. Until then, take care. Have a great weekend.